This is the human heart. Central to our physical body, our survival, revered by poets throughout history as the emotional center of our being. The place we instinctively touch when asked to point to ourselves. And now, what we have known intuitively is being understood scientifically. Researchers are unlocking a new science of the heart that could change everything we know about health and our interconnected nature. Coherence is a state of balance between heart, mind, and emotions, creating a favorable cascade of neural, hormonal, and biochemical events that benefit the entire body. But this phenomenon not only benefits us personally, it affects everything around us, emitting an electromagnetic field that can be measured up to 3 feet outside of the body. When you are in coherence, your heart resonates at the same frequency as the Earth's magnetic field. This frequency positively affects everything around you. When a group of people are in coherence together, this effect is magnified. Could communities synchronized in coherence lower violence, accelerate cooperation, and global harmony? This is the purpose of the Global Coherence Pulse. If we can measure the impact of thousands of people in coherence at the same time, it could lead to a breakthrough in understanding the full potential of the human heart. All you need to participate is your presence and your heart. To take it to the next level, join the research study by downloading the app and getting an HRV monitor to measure your personal coherence. The world needs it more than ever before. Each human heart is unique and magnificent by itself. But imagine what could be possible when we unify.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our Global Coherence Pulse for April 2025. We're in our 5th year of coming together every month with the Global Coherence Pulse, joining together to learn and to practice and to connect with each other and to pulse the planet with our love and our compassion and our care. So my name is Teresa Collins. I'm one of the co-founders of the Global Coherence Pulse, and this is going to be a 90-minute session today. And don't worry, we are recording. So if you need to leave before the 90 minutes is over, you'll get a copy of the recording along with all the links that we'll share at the end in our announcements. Put your name in the chat and tell us where you're calling in from. And if you're new to the Global Coherence Pulse, please let us know that, because we would love to welcome you and let you know that this is a really beautiful place for you to come. And thank you for taking time out of your day to add more love to the field. Know it makes a huge difference. The HeartMath Institute is tracking our global coherence pulses so that we can actually see the power of our coherence reflected back to us. So know that's happening. And if you do happen to have the Global Coherence app, go ahead and sign into the global group. And it's an opportunity, it's optional, but it's an opportunity for us to track our own coherence and the coherence of the group. So if you're doing that, please sign in today. And one last thing, when we're in the chat, I found it really fun. If you hear something that you resonate with, you can type 111, as many ones as you want, into the chat. And we can start to see this wave of things that are inspiring us or touching us very deeply. So we have today with us Penny Heiple and Joe Brewer from the Design School for Regenerating Earth, and they're going to be sharing some really important and relevant things for us right now on the planet, what we need to be thinking about in our regional and local community groups. We're also joined by Kadi J. Mitchell, which many of you may have known before. She's done meditations for us, both in the connection field and also here in the Global Coherence Pulse. And Tatiana Speed, who you heard singing, is going to do music for us today. So we have a really special pulse, and we're going to go ahead and just dive right in. And we're going to start with Tatiana is just going to help us center just a little bit more, drop into presence so that we're really here and that we can add our embodied presence, our loving presence into the field today and make a difference on the planet. So here we go.
So just inviting all of us to take a deep breath and feel our bodies breathing together, that we're breathing in synchrony in this moment. Tuning into our hearts, letting your whole body soften and land in this moment, in the here and now, together, so we can go on this beautiful journey. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel your body, feel your soul. I know there is so much you carry. For this moment, just let go. Let go, let it be. Let go and rest here with me. There's nothing you have to do. There's no one you have to be. Opening our hearts, softening our body, breathing, breathing, breathing in, letting go of whatever your day has held, so we can all come into presence with each other here and now.
Thank you, Tatiana.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to add in Penny and Joe. They are the co-founders of the Design School for Regenerating Earth. And I'm super excited to have you both on today. I know we're going to learn more about you as you share today. But I think it's really important, the kind of work that you're doing right now on the planet and this opportunity that we have to start thinking about our local and bioregions and the ways that we can begin to participate to make a difference right where we live, which I think is essential. And I know that you're going to share more about that. So welcome, Joe, and welcome, Penny. I love that we have the two of you here. And we turn it over to your loving presence and the gifts that you're going to share with us today.
Thanks so much, Tatiana, and thank you, Teresa. We feel really honored to be here. And I wanted to say I feel especially excited to be here. In a way, it's like a homecoming because I was there at the beginning of the Pulse helping to birth this. And so it feels like I'm sort of coming home in a new way, in a different way, back to here to be with all of you. So yeah, so glad to be here. And I'm going to start out by sharing a little bit, and then Joe will share a little later. And I thought that I would start by doing a little storytelling. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm going to share more of my life story than I normally do, but I want to share this as a way, something that I think you'll relate to. I think that a lot of you are going to relate to this journey that I've gone through, and just to see how I've gotten to where I am now and how I've gotten to be with Joe here and the work that we're doing. So I wanted to just do a little storytelling first, and then I'll share a little slideshow, and then Joe will share after that. So I wanted to talk about my life journey, starting from when I was really young. At the age of 5, my parents got divorced. And for whatever reason, that really, really affected me. And that's when I disconnected. So I disconnected from myself. I disconnected from other people, my parents. I disconnected from the earth. It was the moment of that breaking inside of me. And so I grew up very, very depressed, very quiet and shy and alone. And I started to question. I started to bring in a question that I now look back on as a sacred question, a question that was guiding me. And it was the question of, what is the purpose of all this? What's the meaning of life? And it woke up in me this archetype of the philosopher. So as I look back on my life journey, I started to see these different archetypes in different phases of my life. And the philosopher awoke in this time frame and started to ask these deep questions. Like, I didn't really care about all the superficial stuff. I was like, what's the meaning of this? And should I even stay around? Because I am miserable in my early childhood. And when I was coming out of high school, I met this man named Doug, and I decided to do a dance. I did this dance. I had never danced before. I created an entire dance, and I did this dance for him. And that attracted him into my life. And this was a transition for me to decide with conviction and an intention that I would continue, that I would go on in my life and not check out like I was wanting to. So I went on into the first decade of my early adulthood, and I started to explore some more sacred questions around what is healing, like healing with a capital H, not like healing my knee or when it's injured, but healing with a capital H. And what is reality? How is all of this working? What's the truth? Like I was driven by the truth. So I would say my archetypes at that time were like a wounded healer and scientist, like trying to figure it all out. And so I was looking for healing, and I didn't know how to. I was looking outside of myself, and I found a group called Psi Seminars, which is really similar to Landmark, if some of you have heard of Landmark. And that through that experience, I realized my healing was up to me. Like I started to take responsibility instead of looking outside of myself for my healing. And then I decided I wanted to start sharing my healing with others. And so this healer archetype was really, really awakening. And I went to massage school, and I encountered not just massage, but energy medicine and like Zen Shiatsu and these different modalities. And I started to wonder, how does this work? I was like, that scientist was like, how is this working? I want to figure it all out. And right during that time, Doug and I broke up, and that like sent me again into a depression, and a very deep depression. I almost committed suicide during that time, and I was on these drugs that were numbing my feelings and numbing everything. And I decided in that moment, when I couldn't feel the pain, but I couldn't feel the joy either, and I decided I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel it all. And so I stopped the medication, and I had this conviction that brought me into the next phase of my life, which is I will feel it all, the full range of everything. And so I went into the next decade of my life, and I started to weave. I became a weaver of all the different threads, the science and the philosophy and the spirituality and the healing work, like how does it all weave together? That was my question. And during this time is when I did my training in craniosacral therapy. I started to study astrophysics, and then and then I went and studied philosophy, and then I was like learning about unified physics with Nassim Haramein, and I was learning about all the different like forms of spirituality, and I was just like taking it all in and trying to weave it all together. That was this decade of my life. And I actually moved to Hawaii during this time. So I was starting like a deeper healing journey in myself, and yeah, and starting to weave. And then, ironically, what happened is a healing crisis happened at the end of this time. And I was like 95 pounds. I almost died on an airplane because my lung collapsed, and I ended up in an ER in Idaho, of all places. And I was in the ER feeling like, wow, I could die. And I was thinking, who do I want to be if I live? Who do I want to be? And what came to me was this conviction and intention that I will embody love. And so I didn't die. Here I am. And I went into this next decade of my life with the sacred question, what does it take to embody love? How do I embody love? And the archetype over this time for me was the embodied healer. So the craniosacral training and the polarity training that I had taken, I became a teacher's assistant. And that's where I really met my own trauma and started to work in an embodied way with my trauma, with coming back into connection with myself and especially with other people. That was the hardest work. And at the same time, I was like taking these jobs with groups like Humanities Team. Like I worked with Humanities Team for a while and was working with their Conscious Business Initiative. And then I was with the Resonance Science Foundation, and that's where Teresa and I came into connection. And I was helping, we were building the community in the Resonance Science Foundation. And then Teresa and I decided we would start, Teresa and I and Alexi, some of you know Alexi, that we would start an organization together called Live It Now. And then we birthed the Pulse in that whole endeavor. And I was working with Thrive, and it was like I call that aspect sort of like the fire. It was like I was going into the fire with all these relational dynamics that are really challenging, and like, okay, I'm going to embody this. I have to face all of this and work in these groups. And it was, yeah, it was very challenging, but like transformational, like a fire is. And then I found Earth Regenerators, and this is where Joe had started Earth Regenerators, and he, it was in the beginning, it was just a study group for his book, The Design Pathway for Regenerating Earth, but it grew to more than 4,000 people, and this is where I started to actually wake up to the predicament we're in, and where the planet really is in her journey right now. And at that point, I decided, okay, I need to disentangle from everything. And I'm going to go into the Utah desert and just like take my tent. And I've never done anything like this. And I'm going to connect. My intention was like, I'm going to connect with the earth. I'm going to connect with everything. And I did. And I went there and I felt alive. Like, yeah, I felt beauty and I connected with life, and I connected with um, joy and gratitude. And I came out of that experience realizing two things about humanity, like on two sides. One was the beauty, like the incredible creativity, the incredible beauty, the potential of humanity, of humans. And on the other side, like how sick that we become so disconnected from ourselves, from each other, from the earth, from our spiritual, from the wholeness. So I was holding both of those, like I could feel both of those so clearly. And I came out realizing all of this, and I went into a dark night, a dark night of the soul, pretty much immediately after that. And I started to see, like, in the depth of the psychosis, the depth of the meta crisis that we're in, the depth of where the earth is. And I started to realize the healing work I'd been doing in a bubble. I'd been doing disconnected from the context of what was happening across the planet, and that I needed to be in service to life. And that was my conviction at the end of this time, was I will be in service to life. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. and that when I came to that in myself, Joe was coming to his own place, but that's when we found each other. Was when I was clear and he was clear in his own way, that we needed to come together to be in service to life in a way that we couldn't have done apart. So now what I want to do is just share a little presentation. Let me see, where's the share? Let's close that. Okay. So here's Joe and me, and we started this design school for regenerating Earth, which Joe will talk about in a moment. But I wanted to talk about this title here, becoming an evolutionary agent for humanity, for our beautiful planet, and living on purpose in the context of the times that we're in right now. And for me right now, what I actually came back to was the same question, a similar question to what I was asking when I was really young. But adding in, what is a meaningful human life in the context of our times, of this time now, with where we are on the planet now? And I heard this Daniel Schmachtenberger talking about a meaningful life. And I sort of took what he said and adapted it a little bit, but I wanted to talk about these three aspects of being, doing, and becoming. Being like what I was describing when I was in the desert, like I feel alive, and just like immersed in life and feeling the depth of beauty and joy and pain and all of it. It's like being in life, being fully alive. And also another aspect is connecting to that oneness, connecting to our wholeness, connecting to how we're all actually connected and to the spiritual. So being is both those things to me. And the doing is about living on purpose. It's about getting clear about our individual purpose, like what is mine to give into this world, my individual gift. And then our human purpose, which as living as a part of a living planet, our sacred responsibility to care for life. And then our spiritual purpose, like why are we here in this body? That spiritual purpose. So doing is about being able to and actually living on purpose in all of those aspects. And then becoming is about deepening in both being and doing. So it's about that cycle of deepening into being even more in life, even more alive, even more connected to wholeness, to spirit, and even more on purpose and more effective at being on purpose and more effective at manifesting what we want to create. and this is just the same thing in a different form. I thought I'm not going to go through this whole thing in detail, but just to say that if you think about yin and yang and the fulfillment of consciousness, it's a similar cycle. Like that we are connected to source and we have a longing to be in service. We have a longing to be an agent of source. And that leads to this inspiration and these ideas and these intentions of what we want to manifest. And then we have the fire, the drive, the will to take action. And then we come together in relationship with each other, with ourselves, with the planet, to actually manifest the intention to create. And then we ground that manifestation in form and in matter, and it manifests. And then we pause and we come back to source and spirit and we reflect on what just happened and what's the feedback I'm receiving, and forgiving ourselves for not being perfect at what we just did, taking responsibility, accepting it, being content with what we did, reconnecting, gaining wisdom and humility, connecting with source, and then doing it again. And this is the fulfillment of consciousness and the circle of becoming as we deepen with our manifestation and deepen with connection to source and deepen with being alive. And so that's just another way to say the same thing. And this reveals a pathway of how we can become this evolutionary agent that is in service to our purpose, all three levels of purpose. We have to do our reconnection and healing work. That's what this is about, right? This pulse, this community, the connection field, all of it. That's what this is about, doing our reconnection and healing work. And we have to have clarity of purpose. We need to know what is our individual purpose, what is our human purpose, and what is our spiritual purpose. And we have to be very clear. And then we have to act. And in order to act, we have to cultivate our sovereignty and our integrity and our devotion so that we're acting with effectiveness and we're creating what we mean to create and we're staying devoted to our purpose. And of course, all three of these things are interrelated and you can't do one without the other. You can't do reconnection and healing without actually taking action to get feedback, to know what you need to heal. You can't get clarity of purpose without reconnecting and healing. So all of these things are interrelated. So that's what it takes to be an evolutionary agent, to be in service to your individual purpose, in service to your human purpose, to the sacred responsibility to care for life, and to be in service to the fulfillment of consciousness as you make this cycling. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to pass over to Tatiana, I believe is going to do a little interlude. Is that right, Teresa? Yeah. And then after that, Joe, this is Joe. I took this picture of Joe. And he's going to share his journey, a little bit about his journey and what we're doing together with the design school and all the work in Bodhicitta where we're living now. And yeah, so I'll pass it over to Tatiana for now.
And let's take this moment with Tatiana just to take in. Penny, your sharing was so beautiful. Thank you for being so vulnerable. And yeah, I love that it's a full circle for all of the great work that we've been doing. Yeah, so beautiful. All right.
Penny, I was so touched by your story, just weeping over here. So thank you for so beautifully sharing your journey. Just put it here. This song feels like it was made for you. The world is changing, the world's on fire. I want to do my part to inspire change. I want to make my home a sanctuary of love and peace and harmony, and be the change I want to see. The earth is my home, the earth is my mother. We will never have any other to help rebuild, renew, rebirth, a new way to be on earth. Oh. ignite, catalyze, take flight, burn like the sun, dispelling the night. Help humanity find its way back home. I wanna unite, stand and rise, shine bright, bring the truth into the light. Help humanity find its way back home. Come and dance, come and sing, come and pray, come and bring all you are and all you love. A new day is dawning. I feel it calling us to help rebirth a new way to be on earth. I wanna ignite, catalyze, take flight, burn like the sun, dispelling the night. Help humanity find its way back home. I wanna unite, stand and rise, shine bright, bring the truth into the light. Help humanity find its way back home. Help humanity find its way back home. Help humanity find its way back home.
So, Tatiana, that song is so perfect for what I want to share. So hi, everyone. My name's Joe, and maybe the way that I can begin is to say that I was born into one of the most important social movements of the modern era without knowing it. And it's about the very same thing that that song is about coming home and belonging. Because I was born in 1976, and I grew up in the Ozarks in Southwest Missouri. And unbeknownst to me, my parents were part of the Back to the Land movement. They had left St. Louis and gone to live on a farm and to have a big garden and to teach their kids how to crochet and, repair their clothes with a needle and thread and to compost and, all of these kinds of things that we now know as like the permaculture movement and ecosystem restoration and the regenerative movement and so on. But there was this other thing that was happening in the late 1970s in Missouri. And it was also happening in other places like in Appalachia and in Cascadia and in the Hudson Valley, which was this recognizing that the international institutions of the world through the United Nations and similar institutions were creating a story of the environmental movement that separated humans from the rest of nature. And there was a backlash against that in the late 1970s and early 1980s to bring humans home into the bosom of the earth. And that movement was called bioregionalism. It was the movement to recognize that living beings are part of a holistic life context, and that holistic life context includes water and rock and the shape and contour of the land. It includes the kinds of animals and plants. And if human cultures are present, those human cultures evolved with those places. And so humans need to evolve back into our place. And one of the early thinkers of bioregionalism, Peter Berg, who is based in San Francisco and was co-founder of the Planet Drum Foundation, would describe bioregions as life-place, like life and place together. That life exists somewhere and there's a holistic geography, a geography of consciousness and a geography of life. And that this is what the bioregion is. And I was born into Southwest Missouri and the emergence and the organizing of the very first bioregional Congress, which was the Ozarks Bioregional Congress that took place in 1980. Now, I didn't attend that Congress. I was 3 years old. But when I was almost 40 years old, And I had studied Earth system science and complexity and physics and math and philosophy and cognitive and behavioral science. And I'd worked with well-known thinkers like George Lakoff on applying cognitive science to social change and had done all kinds of things. And then it came home to me that there was a bioregional movement that had happened in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and that it gave a holistic perspective on how to restore life in balance at a planetary scale without humans going extinct. Because basically humans can be far from balance and drive ourselves to extinction, and the Earth will continue just fine. Or humans reintegrate ourselves into and belong to the Earth, and then we're bioregional. And so the other thing that was happening as I was approaching my 40th birthday was I was finally ready to become a father. And I'd had a childhood that parallels Penny's in some ways. My parents began their separation when I was 5. It was a violent separation with arguing and fighting and furniture being thrown and dishes being smashed against the walls. And my father had what I thought was schizophrenia until he eventually died from massive strokes, and we learned he was having strokes and learned that he didn't have schizophrenia decades later. And then I started to feel comfortable that perhaps I wouldn't have schizophrenia, or I wouldn't have this horrible way of being that my father had had, and maybe I could be a father. And so I fulfilled one of my life dreams of becoming a father shortly after my 40th birthday. But I like to say that I became a father with eyes wide open because I had studied Earth system science. I'd been trained as a climate scientist and an atmospheric physicist, and I'd learned deeply about our ecological crisis. I could depress you with all the facts about hormone disruptors in our water. I could depress you with overpopulation and ecological overshoot and the contamination of waterways, the damming of more than 90% of the world's fresh water. I could just go on, and really, I could depress you with the best of them about the state of the world. And still, I chose to bring a child into this world with eyes wide open. Because somewhere deep in myself, I believed the Earth is net positive with humans in it, that the world is better with humanity here. And that if I was going to have a child, then I would be forced to live with the responsibility of that. One way I like to say it is the best way to, and Nassim Taleb, who's written a few popular books on investing and dealing with complexity, has said the best way to be sure your sense making is good about your investments is to have some skin in the game, which is you're not investing with someone else's money, you're investing with your own. Well, I literally put skin in the game, and that skin is wrapped around my daughter's body. So I was committed to creating a future that was worthy of placing my child in harm's way. And so as soon as my daughter was born in early 2017, I had to change. So I went from living in Seattle to a few months later living in Eugene, Oregon, which is a lot less expensive place to live while making further transitions. My partner at the time, because as you can see, I'm not with the mother of my child, I'm with Penny now, and there's a whole long story there. But amazingly, the mother of my child, her name's Jessica, she and I were 100% aligned about what we wanted to do for our child. So we left the United States, we moved to Costa Rica, we lived in a biodiversity hotspot, and we learned a lot about greenwashing and narcissists while we were in Costa Rica. So after 10 months of being in Costa Rica, seeing that we were not going to be helping create regenerative bioregional economies at scale because the people we went there to do that with were basically lying about what they were doing, that we came back to the US for a very short time and then found our way. I'm giving the abbreviated version of the story. We found our way to a sacred ceremonial site in an indigenous gathering place in the northern Andes with a multi-thousand-year history, which goes by the indigenous Guane name Barichara, which in the Guane tongue is a place of rest, which is in the middle of the northern Andes in Colombia. And we moved here in November of 2019. just before my daughter's 3rd birthday. And we were committed to raising our child while engaging in large-scale regeneration. One of my life dreams connected with raising a child was to restore dead rivers with the children. So the children would learn how to bring dead rivers back to life as just part of the common sense of their childhood. Barichara is a place that has a unique type of ecosystem. It's the high Andes tropical dry forest. There's no other ecosystem like it on Earth. There are tropical dry forests, but not high Andes tropical dry forests, which is basically a mixture of cloud forest and desert with rainforest elements. And that this was a place that was more than 95% deforested, and 8 out of 10 species exist nowhere else on Earth. So we don't even know what kind of extinction event occurred here in the last 80 years. But what we do know is this place is becoming a desert. And the only way that it will not become a desert is if humans actually actively collaborate and restore the systems. Because this is a place with steep slopes and clay soil. And when you have steep slopes and clay and you take all of the forest off, you've created the perfect recipe for rapid and intense erosion that is unstoppable without human intervention. If humans don't stack rocks in those channels of erosion, the erosion accelerates. So this is a landscape that will not restore its native ecology unless humans actively steward the regenerative process. And so one of the things that started to happen for me in 2019 and 2020 was that I realized I had gathered a lot of other people's knowledge, because I've been asking the question, how does humanity get through the sustainability bottleneck? How do we go through collapse and renewal at a planetary scale without the humans going extinct? And I kept pruning off ideas of possibility. I would go and explore deeply urban sustainability or net zero policies or whatever, and find the ideas that actually aren't realistic because they're not ecologically informed. And as I was pruning away possibilities, I was also refining and clarifying that there is a pathway to regenerating the entire planet with humanity intact, but not in the way we are today. But in order to do so, we would have to weave a planetary network of place-based initiatives organized at holistic landscape system scales, which brings that bioregional idea right into the center. We need to build a planetary network of bioregional regeneration that reintegrates humans with our indigenous ancestors, but in a way that does not go back. It goes forward. Because our indigenous ancestors never had to do regeneration at a planetary scale. They did it at local and regional scales. And they didn't have Earth system science and a planetary network of satellites and advanced supercomputers that could visualize weather systems and ocean currents and plate tectonics. And now we actually need to create what the Kogi people of Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta call the third world or the third way, which is to bring together the best of indigenous wisdom practices and traditional ecological knowledge with the best of modern scientific knowledge, the best of both, and carve a new way into the world. And so what I did in early 2020 was I decided to give my knowledge away so that I could stop carrying the burden of it, so that I could disappear into the forest, plant trees, raise my daughter, and die at peace in the forest. Now, that's not exactly what happened. But what I did was I created a study group. I said, okay, I'm starting to write a book and I don't think there's time to publish it. And I don't have a publisher anyway. So I'm just going to give away the chapters. Who would like to join a study group? And I called the study group Earth Regenerators. It grew to 4,900 members. And we shared knowledge, resources. We started raising funding and buying and bringing it into the commons and supporting regenerative projects and doing all kinds of really powerful things. We, meaning those nearly 5,000 people. Penny and I came together during that time. And I was living in Barichara, Colombia. And to my utter surprise, this landscape that was so alien to me was the first place that invited me to feel at home. And it was not the humans. The humans here had experienced some of the most intense violence in Colombian history in the last 50 years. They were very suspicious of outsiders. The independence movement of Colombia and therefore of Latin America against the Spanish crown literally began in Barichara. This was where the independence movement began in South America, was here. So this is a place that has a long history of being suspicious of outsiders. So I was accused of being a Satan worshiper and a drug dealer and a land grabber. I got all kinds of accusations. But the land welcomed me. The land was a transformational spiritual experience. And there came a point when Earth Regenerators sort of lost its way in collaborative leadership because of the traumas of humans. We humans are not that good at collaborating. We got some healing to do. And in the very beginning of Earth Regenerators, I gave a series of webinars. One of those webinars, which I gave in April of 2020, was called Introducing the Design School for Regenerating Earth. So in March of 2023, Penny and I launched the Design School for Regenerating Earth to live out what was written in my book, to live out the design pathway for regenerating Earth. And here we are 2 years later. We just crossed the threshold of 800 members, but these are highly committed people. They're people from 5 continents. And we're offering our second learning journey. Last year, we had a 6-month learning journey on how to birth a bioregional learning center. This year, it's how to organize your bioregion. We birthed the Earth Regeneration Fund last year and have helped move funding into ecosystems of collaboration across Turtle Island and across parts of South America. And we're weaving very strongly with a lot of friends in Europe, in the Mediterranean, in Australia, and increasingly in different parts of Africa and Oceania. But it's early days. And what we're seeing is that the most important work is learning how to deeply connect ourselves to our local life places and to learn with each other to accelerate the process. And just as an example of someone who's here participating is Rita Marsh. I'm looking at your beautiful face. Rita lives in Carbondale, Colorado, in the Roaring Fork Valley. And Penny and I did a bioregional activation in May of 2023, where we went from the sacred headwaters of the Colorado River to the Sea of Cortez, where the Colorado River no longer makes its way into what used to be the most fertile ocean estuary on Earth, in the Sea of Cortez. And we brought blessings of the waters. Rita gave us water from the Crystal River in our Sacred Headwaters community to bless the Sea of Cortez. And we were received by indigenous peoples of that place in Mexico. And what we were doing is we were being spirit walkers. We were walking with the river through the sacred landscapes of the Rocky Mountains, of Canyonlands in Moab, of the Grand Canyon, of the deserts of Arizona and California and into Mexico. And we've done this in the Great Lakes. We've done this in Cascadia. We've done this in the Northern Andes and Colombia. And now we're helping others to do it in their own landscapes. And so what we're doing with the Design School for Regenerating Earth is we're inviting people to take back their power, to no longer give it to the international organizations, to our nation states, and to our absurdly poorly drawn boundaries of states and departments and provinces and nations, and to redraw the borders of human consciousness to conform to the natural boundaries of ecology and evolved human culture into bioregional frameworks. And as we're doing this work, what we're finding is it's all about trauma healing. It's all about the human story. Now, it's not reducible, but it's that if we don't get the human story right, we don't come home. We don't come home. And what I want to close with in this part of the sharing is that I was born as a lost child of civilization. So I was asking the big questions that Indigenous people never have to ask. Who am I? Where am I from? And why am I here? Those are questions of conquered people. Those are questions of people who have been traumatized by colonization because they were not born into an indigenous culture that says, who am I? I am of the Bear Clan. I am of the Salmon people, right? Indigenous people answer this question in their sacred responsibilities to their local ecology of place. Why am I here? Well, I'm here to continue the sacred responsibilities of being human in kinship bonds with the rest of life. What is my purpose? My purpose is to bring my unique gifts into the service to life that is what it means to be a human in conscious relationship with indigenous and, in the language of anthropology, endogenous, meaning within the system itself. How do I show up and steward? How do I listen to the consciousness of the water and be sure that the fish populations are in balance? How do I be sure that the beaver have habitat? How do I be sure the migration patterns of the other animals and of the plants are in harmony? Because as a human, I'm a shapeshifter of consciousness. With plant medicine and with ceremony and ritual, being human is being indigenous. And so the bioregional movement is inviting us to become the indigenous of the future, which requires us to honor the indigenous of the past who are very much in the present today. And so the work of regenerating the earth is what we're inviting. And we feel like the way that Penny said that to embody love, to embody healing, is to be a part of the living earth and to come back into right relationship, which means to be bioregional and what that word means, to come back into harmony and responsibility with our life places. And that's what we're doing. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today.
Oh my gosh. Love you guys so much. Let's we're gonna go into a meditation, into our coherence meditation. Let's take those questions that you just asked us, Joe. Let's take that deep into ourselves as Kadi J guides us in a meditation. We're going to come out of that meditation into a beautiful video, and then we'll come back and we'll have time to be able to connect and share some of our own experiences. So Kadi J, and thank you guys. That was just so precious. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't even have the words. I was just so blown away by everything you shared, Penny and Joe, and just so honored that you invited me to be here with you today. So let's all drop in together. For this meditation, I'm going to invite you to make sure your legs are uncrossed and planted on the earth. Welcome, everyone, to this Global Coherence Pulse, intended to drop into your sacred heart, to feel the love that you are, and to share this with our beautiful Mother Earth and all those that live within it. If you haven't already, now is that perfect time to close your eyes. Bring your awareness inside. Feel your feet planted on the earth. Feel your heart beat within your chest. Feel your breath deepen as you draw your presence into this moment. Each breath, sink your feet deeper into the earth. Feel yourself ground with our Great Mother. Feel yourself connect with this precious place we all call home. Breathe into your heart. Feel your heart expand. With each breath, drawing love into this sacred space. Breathing love in for this precious earth. Breathing love in for all our brothers and sisters across the world. With each continued breath, allow yourself to connect even deeper with the earth as your heart expands to love. And with each breath out, begin pulsing this love out into the planet. Witnessing as this healing energy permeates all things. Feel the earth regenerating with your love. Feel hearts healing with your love. Feel your own heart awakening even more with this love. Let go of any idea of what this is supposed to look like in this moment, and allow yourself to feel. Breathing deeply into your heart, sending love back out into the earth. Feel how love helps to heal the earth. Feel how this love creates change across the earth. Present in this moment, present with your heart, present with the love that you are as you pulse this across our beautiful mother. Weaving through landscapes and homes, through cities and small villages, bringing peace to all those hearts who need it now. With the next breath, bring your awareness back into that central space within your sacred heart. And for a moment, feel the love that you are. And give this love to yourself. Taking 2 more deep breaths. And then gently calling your awareness back to the room or physical space that holds you. Bringing gentle movements to your fingers and toes, feeling your feet on the earth once more. When the moment arrives, blinking your eyes open, returning to this brand new moment in precious present time.
For too long, too many people have been left homeless. For too long, we haven't seen enough progress. For too long, exiled, displaced, and alienated, people walk this earth devastated. For too long, we've lived in separation, forgotten our true nation, this earth the home to all future generations. Cut off from life, cut off from each other, we've forgotten nature, our only mother. This disconnect is our deepest wound. Towards wholeness, we must reattune. Whole life, whole person, whole systems, all cultures, one planet. If you feel this truth, let's stand for it. Let's reclaim home as the destination. Choose inclusion over separation and build a refuge, a sanctuary, a place of healing that nurtures and supports all beings. Let's build home right where we are. Let's build a home for all of us. Let's build a home for humanity. Let's build a home that nurtures all of life. It starts within. It starts with me, it starts with you. Can we turn to ourselves and see ourselves anew? What do we love? What do we cherish? For what do we stand on this beautiful planet, this sacred land? It starts with community, creation, culture. Can we build together, my sister, my brother? It starts right here, right now. Put the seeds in the ground until life springs up all around. We can walk through our garden, this home that we make. Together we change humanity's fate. And from the local to the global, from the I to the we, from the north to the south, from the west to the east, all cultures, all borders, all peoples, all life, we can come together and ignite a home for all to which all belong. This is the prayer, this is the song. Let's build a home right where we are. Let's build a home for all of us. Let's build a home for humanity. Let's build a home that nurtures all of life. One world, one home, one heart, one life. All people, all cultures now. One world, one home, one heart, one life. All people, all cultures now. Let's go home. We are going home.
Let's build a home right we are.
Let's go
Let's build a home for all of us.
Let's build a home for humanity. Let's build a home that nurtures all of life.
Itakeapi. This is a home on Mother Earth for beings.
From the power with to the power to, we can change and create something new. Hold the vision, hold the mission, hold the line. We are birthing a new paradigm. Homecoming, we are all becoming who we need to be to hold off this catastrophe. Down on our knees with prayers for peace for this indivisible family. Around the world, feel the hearts opening. Around the world, feel the hands extending. Around the world, feel this movement coming. All cultures, all peoples, one planet, one home.
Ooh.
Tatiana, you're amazing.
Oh my gosh. I'm kind of teary-eyed. Are you guys teary-eyed? Is everybody on the Yeah.
Prodigy,
Yeah.
your meditation took me so deep into my heart. I'm just, yeah, I don't really have words right now, but I feel deeply, deeply moved. deeply moved by Penny and Joe and deeply moved by you, Cuddy J. And I feel just this huge love for humanity and the earth right now. Like this big, huge space of love has opened in my heart.
Yeah.
And definitely feel that as well, Tatiana. Thank you. Thank you. I got teary-eyed in the meditation. I was like, no, you gotta hold it together.
We just didn't want the song to end.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I've asked in presentations I give about our work in bodhicitta that really seems to just be like a spear to the heart. I show a picture of my daughter in the forest that we're growing, and I just ask, what would it mean if the children were never traumatized in the first place?
Mm.
And it's one of those questions that a big focus in what I do in my role as a father is to try to ask the question, what does my daughter need to prepare for the future? And then how do we bring that to all of the children in the community? And Penny and I are both really working hard to try to bring a regenerative education ecosystem into being here with a lot of local people. And the biggest challenge is that the parents are traumatized. Yeah, like it's the biggest challenge. And I think many of you who've worked with alternative education will know what we mean, that we try and create these nurturing, healing environments, but we can't accept love ourselves sometimes.
Mm.
And so we can't even see the shadows that we're projecting, right? And so I just wanted to name that into the room, that there's something so important about being with children and letting the children remind us what humans are. That many of us have not only forgotten, but it's been wiped away by our education systems.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
So-
love. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Teresa if do we want to open it to other people in this time? But I want to hear from Tatiana first.
I was just going to say I'm so moved how you speak about your daughter and even your whole journey to fatherhood. I really relate to because I'm also contemplating bringing a soul to earth, and it feels like such a huge choice to make given where we're at, and just how you spoke about having skin in the game and it's wrapped around her body. And I was like, wow, what an act of trust that we're gonna find a new future forward for our
I'm
children.
going to show you a picture I took yesterday. That's my daughter Elise, and what she's holding in her hand is the boat that gave rise to the mythology of El Dorado, the greed, lust for gold by the conquistadors, because they didn't understand how anyone could throw so much gold into a lake. And my daughter was learning about the Muisca tradition and how gold is the fertile seed of the sun that gives life to the earth. And that when the gold is taken from the rivers of the mountains and made into ornaments and artifacts, then it's given back to the lakes at the top of the mountains to bring the sun's giving energy to the living presence of the earth. And look how wrong the Spaniards were in their interpretation. And so I get to have my daughter, she was taught this yesterday by a man who gathers indigenous knowledge from the cultures of the Northern Andes. So there's something so special about bringing our children into these kinds of intentions in this time, because the indigenous cultures are sharing their wisdom and they're sharing it with the settler cultures. So my daughter got a lesson in that yesterday. So it's very powerful what's happening now.
Nice. I'm going to bring Rita on since you, I hope you don't mind, Rita. I'm going to add you to the spotlight and I'm going to ask you to unmute. There we go. Hi, Rita. Do you want to share something from your heart today? I know that you've been involved with these guys.
Oh, I'm just so thrilled to see them on this program, the Global Coherence Pulse. Teresa and Penny, to hear your background with Teresa, it's really sweet to know that piece. And I just can't say enough about the dedication these two people have to make the globe a better place. And when I first met Joe on a global summit on bioregeneration, I have no idea why I signed up for it, but here I was in the room and I heard him speak, and I literally had an out-of-body experience. I went up out of my body above our watershed and saw the incredible potential that could happen if organizations already doing good work on the land and with the water could come together and weave with the principles that Joe and Penny have set forth in the design school. What an amazing example of regeneration this area could be. So we're working on it.
We're working.
And we're eking along. And I'm just so grateful to be part of the design school and to know these two folks. And looking forward to their maybe fifth visit back to the valley at some point.
Oh, thank you, Rita. You're choked up like the rest of us. I think we're all just feeling this responsibility that we have to heal ourselves. And in healing ourselves, we're going to heal the planet and we're going to leave a legacy for the children. So it's really up to us. Yeah.
Yes. And the Crystal River, which is in the picture behind me, the water that Joe and Penny took from here and took down to the end of the river where it no longer flows was such a meaningful thing for me, because I had had an experience with an animal communicator sitting on land here next to the water. And we're asking, what do the animals need? What is needed in this region? And I expected elk, deer, bear to show up in the meditation. And I couldn't speak for a while after coming out of the meditation, because it was the whales and the dolphins who came. And they were asking, please, the water must be returned to our calving grounds. Please do all you can to see this happen. And so years after that meditation, here come these two folks, and symbolically, they made it happen. The water has been returned.
Precious.
Oh, Rita, just such big hugs.
So good to see so many people have been involved in hearing this story today.
Yeah.
Blessings to all.
And more well. Hey, Douglas, I'm gonna add you. You left a beautiful statement in the chat, and I just wondered if you wanted to share something, and then we'll go to some announcements, and then we'll come back if we have a little more time.
Thank you. I worked for 23 years in the field of child protection as a consultant on child abuse cases. And after that, I worked with domestic violence perpetrators and have recognized that if we don't heal our woundedness, we're not going to be able to give to each other, to a sacred earth. We're not going to be able to give from our fullness, our wholeness. So thank you all for all you're doing. We are the ones. We are. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
if I could just say something quickly in response, Douglas, it's so powerful. One of the things that I began to reconcile in myself after coming to Colombia was my father was a chain smoker, so I hated tobacco, but I hated the bastardized version of tobacco. I didn't know about tobacco as a sacred plant. You know, the peace pipe is the tobacco pipe, and the tobacco of North America originally came from the Northern Andes through the cultural exchange of the indigenous people. And as I started to learn about tobacco, one of the powerful things is tobacco is for men to connect with their male ancestry, to receive guidance about how to create and maintain peace, because men are the perpetrators of violence in a sort of cultural sense. And so, you know, men are the ones who go to war. And so the peace pipe is to bring, or the role of tobacco is to bring men back into right relationship with the sacred feminine. so that our male ancestors who were integrated with the sacred feminine could guide us. And just to say that is what you're describing. The perpetrators are not in that harmonious place. So we can't expect more from them without healing that.
I used a Taoist model in that we as men have to embrace our feminine, our sacred yin. We have to embrace that part of ourselves, to embrace earth, the living earth, to embrace each other, to embrace the divine within. This is the yin aspect. And then the yang, doing, being a social activist, a sacred activist. We're meant to give. So thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, namaste.
Namaste. I'm going to have Kaylin bring up some links, and Penny and Joe, you can talk about the school and about your book. We'll bring up the your website, and then you can share a little bit about that, and I'll put those links in the chat, and then we'll just go around to everybody's websites. So if you want to bring those up, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say the beautiful thing about the Design School for Regenerating Earth is we created a $5 membership fee to basically keep the people out who would come and spam us, the people who would lower the quality of relationships. But because Penny and I are supported by funding from the Novo Foundation, we don't need that money for ourselves, which enables us to create a pool of resources to support our members. And so that just to say that the Design School is a gathering place of very high quality, wonderful people like Rita, who's a member of the, we have wonderful people, and that Penny has done such a beautiful job of creating the containers, speaking, Douglas, of the yin and the yang, of integrating the container and the intention and shaping it to relate to action. We feel like the classroom of the Design School is our local landscapes, not the online environment. But the online environment supports us to help each other to do work in our real world communities. And that yin and yang are fully integrated, I think, because of Penny and my relationship. And I think that's the thing that I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just add we're doing this learning journey that Joe mentioned on how to organize your bioregion. And then complementing that, I'm leading a session in what I call the inner space, so that we're working, we're doing the inner work at the same time we're doing the outer work. So that as we're attempting the outer work, all of our inner stuff comes up, right? It's like all the blocks and all the stuff comes up, and so we work with that in the moment and we do both together, the yin and the yang together.
Those kind of co-creative partnerships where we bring our deeper hearts and the best of ourselves together, and the synergy of that is so much greater than the sum of the parts, and that's really clear here for all of us with the two of you. We also put a link to your book, Joe, where people can go Amazon and get the book. I think that's a wonderful opportunity for people to have something that they can kind of spend some time with. I know that's what you were talking about, that you took those people through. If you want to say something about your book.
The main thing I would say is that this book is a compendium of other people's knowledge. There are only a couple of insights that are mine. I'm a synthesizer. I synthesize a lot of other people's ideas. But what I intended to do with this book is to make it easy and quick to read, and yet so deep and provocative you are drawn back. And it's actually structured with discussion questions at the end of each chapter, which makes it perfect for a book club. It's perfect for a book club. And also that as you read the book, you'll see what we're doing in the Design School, because we're actually living the design pathway for regenerating Earth is this creating a planetary network of bioregions and regenerating our life places holistically, all the way up to the scale of continental scale systems like the Mississippi River Basin and the Colorado River and the Great Lakes and those kinds of large scale systems, and then connecting it with the planet. And so also the cover art is a textile artwork by Claire Atwell in Victoria, British Columbia, that she had already made before the book came out. And it's just indicative just how important community art is and our ability to creatively express. That she had already created that incredible artwork and then just slapped my words on top of it. And I feel so honored to have Claire making it so beautiful.
That's beautiful. Great. And then we're going to go next to Kati J into her YouTube channel. If you want to have some more meditations by Kati J, it's loaded here with so much beautiful work. Also, Joe and Penny, Kati J, Tatiana, they're all part of the connection field. So if you want to also connect with them there, that's another place where there's stuff happening and you can connect deeply with them. So Kati J, thank you for these beautiful meditations. I mean, there's so much richness here. And I also put up your fundraiser for your new project because I really wanted people to know about that also. If you want to say something about what's coming up here and your new project with Pause.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, everyone. So I'm in the process of co-creating an animal sanctuary and wellness center that combines my two favorite passions, which is human and animal welfare. And we're in the fundraising process just to get off the ground. We're already incorporated. We're a standing business, but we're working on getting tax exempt status so that we can kind of go to the next level. We're hosting our first official fundraiser, which is like my metaphorical groundbreaking, next Saturday on April 26th at noon Eastern Time. It's by donation, so if you want to join, but there's also an option to donate $0 and just join with the intention, because the more people we can have to come together in this event and seed the intention for Pause Animal Wellness Sanctuary, Pause, the better off it's going to be. And you can visit the website, which is just Pause Sanctuary, Pause sanctuary.com, and learn all about where we're at in our mission. And you can reach out to me directly. I can send you information on where we're headed. It's very exciting. Right now we have 4 animals, and we hope to have hundreds and hundreds more that we bring in, rehabilitate, and provide homes to.
Thank you, Kati J. And if you do go to her website, I think Kati J and her team are doing something really powerful, is that they're sharing their journey, like what actually the steps it takes to have an idea that you're passionate about and what you actually have to do to get it on the ground. And that's what we need. We need ways to see that we can take something simple that's calling at our heart, and we can take one step at a time, and we can actually unfold something that blossoms into a beautiful garden. So thanks for modeling that too, Jay. Appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Teresa.
Yeah. Next, Tatiana. She has a beautiful website. She has so much richness in there. You can see her music and her videos, and she's got a Oasis Women's Circle that she's offering. Just so much goodness, Tatiana. If you want to unmute for a second and just share a little bit. What a rich day. We had all 3 of these guys. I mean, 4 of these guys, like superheroes.
Yeah, it was so rich. I share women's circles. I offer women's circles. I have one that's meeting tomorrow, and it's not too late to join us if you want to jump on board. It's a 7-week series of women gathering. It's so incredibly healing and impactful to gather in circles of women. There's just deep work that we can do together when we come together in that way. I also have an album coming out, Lullabies for Adults. I played one of the songs. So I just encourage, if you're interested, just to sign up for my mailing list, because that album's coming out May 9th. And it's a very healing, therapeutic album that I'm very excited to share, and has been in like so long in creation. So it's just a really joyous moment that it's almost at the finish line. And I also offer one-on-one. So yeah, just explore my website and sign up to my mailing list if you'd like to stay up to date. And if anyone wants to jump into the Women's Circle tomorrow, send me a message.
Yeah, and you can also see the Oasis Women's Circle right there and the link that I gave you. And tomorrow would be the last day for somebody to be able to join before the circle closes for the 7 weeks. And then there'll be another one. And I have to say, it's powerful to be with Tatiana and a group of women. There's a sweetness to it and very, very powerful. So if you're looking for some connection like that, I highly recommend it.
And if you are, reach out to me personally, because I actually took the registration link down because we kind of already had our first session, but the door is open to anyone here. So if you want to, just reach out to me.
Would you put that in the chat? Exactly
Sure.
how they'd reach out to you? Perfect.
Yes.
Just a couple of more things. We're going to be doing a special Earth Day event. I'm bringing a 0-point healer. His name is Sky. He spent 3 years in silence. The first year sitting for 23 hours a day. The second year he spent walking 12 to 14 hours a day. And the third year of silence he spent running that same amount of time to come into a very deep place inside of himself. And he'll be opening up a space for us to move to the future Earth and bring back some of the visions that we're seeing there so that we can start from this place in our present, how we begin to move forward into that future. So I hope you'll join us. I'm going to put that link in the chat too. And again, I'll put all these links in the email that I'm going to send you. These are all in the connection field. So you'll have them. Two more. May 1st is Global Love Day. Global Love Day. So we're going to be 12 hours of heart-centered offerings. I'm going to be offering something to Global Coherence Pulse. I think Tatiana has an hour that she's offering things. So join Global Love Day. It'll be super fun. And it's, you know, these opportunities where we can send love into the planet. And let me tell you, it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference when we join together. And one last thing is that, you know, with the Global Coherence Pulse, you know, as Penny said, we started this back in 2020. It's 5 years now that we've been doing this. And we didn't just want to create an event that people came once a month or a couple of times a month. Sometimes we did more, but we wanted to have a community where if you're interested in really cultivating coherence in the heart of your lives, if you really want to be an embodied, positive, coherent, loving presence on the planet, we need to be in community to do that. Otherwise, it's hard to heal alone. It's hard to create sustainability. So we've created a community. It's free to join if you want. There's also levels that you can join for deeper engagement. But this is the place where if you love what's happening here, come and hang out because it's happening every day, every week, every month. There's something going on for us to stay connected like this. So putting those links in the chat. And then let's come back. You can go ahead and stop sharing and we'll be on screen. And I just wonder if Penny and Joe, if you have any closing comments for us today.
Oh gosh, I'm just full of emotion. I don't even know what to say. I feel just feeling grateful and yeah, a lot of tears today. Kadi J's meditation with the songs and just really grateful for all of you. Like all of us are living this out and so grateful.
Yeah, and I guess what I would add is if you look out into the dark part of what's happening in the world, you'll see that it's accelerating, it's speeding up and intensifying. But this weaving of local fabrics of relationships and partnerships is also speeding up and intensifying. And so the opportunity for us is to recognize where to put our energy and to recognize that the fear and the hate and the reacting and the judging, while they do have a functional place, it's very limited in this moment. And that actually what's needed is to lean into the beauty and the joy and the innocence that comes with reconnecting with a river, with watching leaves fall, with seeing fish swimming, with watching children play, and with watching things grow. And to see them grow from your own hands is another whole level. And so just to really invite us to lean into life, because not much time left to start that path. And many of us on this call, I'm sure, have been on this path for a long time, but there are a lot of people who have no idea how this is the biggest movement in the history of humanity. And they have no idea because it's the revolution that's not being televised. Yeah. And so for us to do it in our own communities it's word of mouth and it's person to person and it's place to place. And so that is the real magic, to just lean into the regenerative work in your place and help each other come together.
Beautiful. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute and I'm going to go in gallery view so that we can all see each other. And you can open your mics and you can send love to Penny and Joe and to Kadi J and Tatiana and to each other. So please open up your mics. Let's hear your voices.
Bye-bye.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste.
Everyone, Penny, Joe, Kata J, Tatiana, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you all so much.
Much love. Bye-bye.
Oh, that was cute.
Namaste,
Julie. I love
everyone.
that.
Namaste.
Ilakes.
Namaste. Namasko.
Thank you.
Bye.
Love you all so
Love
much.
you all.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for being here today with us.